Hello and welcome back to another Final Fantasy XIV Bestiary video. This time on just a few of the many water-themed creatures within Final Fantasy. If you've been around my channel for a while, you probably know I have quite the affinity for water-themed things, even picking up Conjure all the way back just because of its one water spell and various nature themes. And even in Endwalker we ended up getting a water spell, though that's maybe a conversation for another day. Let's get into the video. Deep through the tunnels in western Fanland, all the way in a cave known as the Moon Drip, we find these glowing liquids racing all about the water's surface. But in reality, these are more likely to be some sort of fauna with a bioluminescent property to them. We even get a few comments about this area through various locations, mentioning just that. And some people believe that they may have curative properties and not necessarily just be a fauna residing in here. We can see quite a lot of bioluminescence in various fauna in real life, and notably this one is probably a reflection of the plankton that you may have seen in various medias. For such an early area in A Realm Reborn, it's really cool to see something so creative for a minor location that you spend very little time at and have to go fairly out of your way to even reach this area. Though, unlike real plankton, these things are quite fast, whatever this fauna is that is living here. Throughout the various locations across Eorzea, we have these salamanders, which are also classified under Fs. These things are quite massive for size, and even the ones we come to here in Gridania are actually rather small compared to some of the other ones we find scattered around. They have some interesting takes on what they did with the salamanders here, in that they have various little appendages running down their arms, almost like additional fingers, likely to help them grip more, maybe onto prey, considering they seem to mostly live in shallow water areas and seem to avoid deeper water locations, such as ones we see over in Ophard that are available to us, and even some locations within La Noscia. They seem to be mostly absent from the deeper waters, which is not too far from a normal salamander. If you look at their eyes, they don't seem to actually be eyes, but some sort of bulbous sensory organ. And even when we go to see the other models, rows of these little bulbous, I'm going to call them sensory organs, as I'm not entirely sure what they're for or how they exactly use them. Though it's not too far off from some real species of salamander, which are indeed almost near blind to the point where their eyes are more or less useless, as we see in the Olm species of salamander. We even get to peek in one of the mouths of these salamander, as their idle animation has them sort of yawning. I assume in the same way you would see a snake yawn, where it's not really yawning like a human would, but more so to stretch its jaw muscles, so it's able to be ready to eat its next prey if need be. And within there we can see all these little teeth lining its mouth. A detail they didn't need to include, but one that I appreciate. Strangely though, most of the salamanders we encounter have this sort of drabbish gray colors, or have a few spots among them, outside of a hunt one which we do find that is red. It's kind of disappointing to see, as a lot of salamanders tend to be very colorful in their looks, so it would have been nice to see a bit more variety in that. Matoya and Y'shtola seem to get a lot of joy out of their little water creatures running amok, and one such is the various familiars that Y'shtola summoned in her younger days, specifically the one known as Nixie, deep within Matoya's relict. Familiars are supposed to be a reflection of what the caster wants when summoning, and even in a recent story within Northhorn, we saw that it can be very easy to mess up the influence of what the summoned creature ends up becoming and how it acts. And Y'shtola did just that in her immaturity with not understanding fully what she was doing. As a result, we got Nixie, a quite quite mischievous and prank-filled water elemental. It's hard not to love this thing. It is so cute, and all the little water-themed magics it does are quite amazing to see. When it does its ultimate sea shanty and summons this little chorus of instructors as they play their little music, even ending with Nixie looking at you as if that was supposed to beat you. This boss also offers the opportunity to get a blue mage spell if you're willing. At one point as well, I ended up making a blue mage water themed build just for fun to run around, and that's just a really cool thing you can do with the job. So I will be excited to see what Beastmaster will have in store for us when it comes to things like this. Maybe I will instruct an army of flying fish to destroy my enemies. Over in the lakes of Rakita Greatwood, down near the various ruins, we find a very normal looking fish. Well, normal except for the fact it is gargantuan in size. Down here, if you wait long enough, or just happen to be in the right place at the right time, you can see this humongous arowana fish. I always found it kind of funny that in all the underwater areas where you can dive under, they tend to just have the most normal looking aquatic life that you would see in real life, excluding the various size differences. And there's just something funny about seeing something so normal in a Final Fantasy game like this. Though we've even had things like just normal cows in Final Fantasy games before as well. What more is there to say? It must have been someone's project to practice modeling an arowana or something, as it's just a normal fish. In the frigid snowscape of Querfus Western Highlands, in these specific ponds that have been unfrozen due to the various flare fish that occupy these waters, we find some sea angels, or as the game likes to call them, ice fairies. These are a type of sea slug, though in real life you normally find them a lot deeper within the pelagic water levels and not so close to the surface like we see here. Typically, many of the species are found about 200 meters or so under the water surface. These things can be easy to miss if you're not a fisher roaming about the various locations to fill out your logs. Though I feel like at some point these were brought to attention during a story quest, but it's hard for me to remember so much that far back. Strangely, the game does not let you swim in these waters. I'm not entirely sure what the reason is behind that, but if you do float above them and get a little closer, you can see they are a fully rendered model and not some sort of PNG or something of the nature. But looking on top of them, you can see they are very flat, and surprisingly, they are indeed animated, and they will flap their little fins back and forth, just like you would see a real sea angel do. Just another very cute water creature that is just there to build up more on the environmental storytelling than necessarily be of anything of stature. It's nice to see that not every fauna we encounter needs to be a hostile target for us to engage with. Heading over to the Dravanian foreland, we can find the Nanka, or more specifically the Ninki Nanka, and the smaller babies being the Nanka. This is strangely named after a creature from West African folklore that's described as a terrifying sea spirit with dragon-like features and almost devilish looks. But this thing looks so cute. Oh my. Well, now that I see the adult form, maybe they did use that as their inspiration after all. Given the location we find in here, it's rather fitting for its dragon themes to be in the Dravanian forelands. Though that was not the first location this creature was added in. If we head over to Hullbreaker Isle... Where was I? Right. Within the depths of the caves within Hullbreaker Isle, in the A Realm Reborn dungeon of all places, we find the Ninki Nanka. Though this one boasts a special ability, and if you didn't know it, those little bulbous things on its back are not part of it, but those are eggs that carry the little baby Nankas within inside. And they seem to use this in a very hostile fashion, and not one where you would usually see something like a dragonfly that would attempt to release its children before it dies if it felt it was in danger. Nope, this one will just out the gates unleash its little army of babies to attack you. The way this works almost kind of reminds me of the Suriname toad, where it will carry all its children on its back and then release them out and leave these similar holes all over its body. It's hard to say if this exactly was the inspiration, as there's quite a few creatures that will carry eggs on their backs, such as various species of spider, but given that this is more reptilic and amphibious in design, I like to assume it is based off of this toad. A very wild amount of inspirations to create what ends up being a very unique looking creature. Away from the traps of Hullbreaker Isle, we head over to the fringes to visit. Where are we looking for? Oh, there is. The little balls of moss, and appropriately named Mosslings. These fiends are too cute not to mention, and what's more water associated than a literal ball of moss with legs? For how simple this model looks, it's extremely emotive, not only in its attacks, but even how it walks around. You can see it sort of undulating and doing very goofy animations. The way it seems to act and modeled almost makes me think it is built off the same base skeleton as the Spriggan, but either way, this thing is super cute. That's right, I snuck a shark into another video. More specifically, the flying sharks in the Ruby. All these species of flying shark have various names, but they all seem to stem from the Hybotus, which is an extinct group of shark-like fish that we've seen in real life. Though that being said, it seems to reflect more the appearance of modern sharks we know today. It's such a simple way to change the appearance of a shark by adding these additional like horn-like callousy appendages all over the place, which makes it even scarier looking than you would expect. We even ended up getting a version of this as a mount, which is honestly one of my favorite mounts. Though this one takes a bit of effort to get, as you'll have to go ocean fishing for this one. Now for a very goofy looking creature, the Bombfish, modeled after the pufferfish. This little thing is very spiky and has the funniest expression on its face no matter when you see it. It even has these cute little fins on its side, though strangely it has no back fins to help it waddle around. This shares the same models as the bombs we see, though it is a lot less intimidating than those. And a bit of a funny twist related to the bombs we know. It seems to be a lot of debate on in-name descriptions among scholars as to whether or not these are indeed void sent or simply unique water creatures found within Ophard. It's cool to see that in the world building, they even go out of their way to flesh out debates among various scholars, just like we would see in real life. It adds that little extra bit of immersion that really helps bring things together. Up to more of Matoya's shenanigans, we are heading over to the Anti-Tower. Here we can find various Pirago lining the castle walls. These little amphibians are very cute, and they seem to be modeled after the American green tree frog. A very classic and well-known design. When you think of frog, this is probably the first one you think of, but we will be focusing our attention on this beautiful beast, Zuro Roggo. Look how chunky it is. This giant Pirago has various tricks up its sleeve and very goofy accessories to go with them. You can see it's wearing rings, I assume of some magical powers, even a crown and a scepter, which it uses to strike you more than it does to cast magic with it. All of its spells are fun. They have this music theme to all of them, and it even has its little buddies join in on the singing to cast the frog status on you. This is just a very goofy fight through all of its mechanics, even including one where it will bonk you on the head to stun you. If you wanted the song rambunctious job, well, you might want to ask this frog for some tips. And that'll do it for another Final Fantasy Bestiary video. Up here, another video. Down here, another video. Over here, subscribe. Thank you to my members, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye!